looking at September 25th, 2025. It's a Thursday. Looking at a quick review of what went on in the day. Here's the daily candle that we had for this Thursday on ES to the left here, NASDAQ on the right. Prior to this happening in ES, I know we had already come down before below this volume imbalance. I was looking at that, and I was looking a little bit at this daily fair value gap. Over here we had a volume imbalance and we had a daily fair value gap, so it'll be a little bit busy here, but let me explain what's going on, and you'll see more in a smaller time frame. But also I was using some quadrants within the wick, so I was just breaking the wick down from both this one and over with NQ, this wick and this wick, just to give me some other anchor points that price can potentially be sensitive to at times, to see if it overlaid with any of the other key points that price may respond off of. So you see the blue is my midline, the reds are my outside, and kind of this aqua is my quarters, high and low. Same thing down here. So when price was getting into those areas, I'll show you kind of what I was looking for, and had some good response today out of that, so that was positive to see. And same thing over here with NQ, this one and this wick once again, and also looking to this daily fair value gap. So as we approach the day, or I should say the 9:30 open, this was way up there, but I liked those relative equal highs. I liked these, and I really liked these going down to the 1 minute. I felt like we were going to have a run up, main reason being if we look at the 15. So we had Monday ran up, Tuesday went down, Wednesday went down. We had two decently big down days for both NASDAQ and ES Monday and Wednesday. So once again, I'm sorry, Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday here, Wednesday had a strong move down. So I was assuming in my mind, if the market looked decently good for going north, that I would look to take that if everything kind of panned out. So what I was looking at, and I know there's a lot going on here, but I'll explain that. We had a new day opening gap, and I had my relative equal highs up here. So at 9:30, we really didn't even take out a high. 9:30 was this candle. We jumped into this fair value gap and kind of shot down, and it went down rather quick, which was fine. I was pretty patient today, which I was pretty happy with. Let me get my trade executions up on the NASDAQ here, if that will allow me to here sooner or later. There we go. So on ES, I was more on 32nd when I entered this one. About 9:44, 9:45 or so, we had this the daily fair value gap. Nice response off of that one. Had a nice shift off of this swing high back into a fair value gap. I wasn't overly sold yet because I was still sitting in some of these fair value gaps, so I ended up taking it here when it came down right on top, and so I got my entry right here. Had a quick jump up, went up to a higher, I'll show you here, higher time frame fair value gap right off this 15-minute fair value gap, and then jump back down. What I liked to see, which I did, this low did not breach that one. That always, more times than not, makes me feel good that I'm on side, and honestly this thing took off extremely nicely. My ultimate target was up here. That's a long ways to go for ES. It's a lot of handles in one session, and I had this daily volume imbalance along with relative equal highs. So I had three things there. Didn't get up that far, but luckily for me, I had picked what I felt were easy targets. This was the first one, so I took one right here, and it was right off of this aqua quadrant. So that's 6659 for reference. 6659. So we had the top quarter of this wick right here. That was kind of overlaid with the start of 6658, which was the starting of ultimately the close, but that's where that wick started on this previous candle as well. So I had two of them there, and also I was right by a target right here. I wasn't sure if once it took those highs out, if it was going to come back down, because we might have had some unfinished business here. And then I also had some, what I call these relative equal highs still up there, along with, let's see what we got over here, a 4-hour fair value gap that was right there. So I felt we had some things that might shoot it back down. I took one off here. I did move my stop up to a little bit in profit. We didn't quite get here. It was kind of meandering around. So once it hit this new day opening gap from the 16th, I wasn't sure if it was puttering out or what was going on, but I took one there. And then after a while, it just wasn't doing much. And I was like, this may come down. I didn't want to wait for it. And I was in a decent amount of profit. So I took another one there and was out of those three positions. In NQ, I took this one here once again when I was on the 32nd. We had come back down into this fair value gap after we had closed above 4-hour volume imbalance. We were above this daily fair value gap, and we had a nice, we took this one out, we had a nice shifted market structure. So that was that one. NASDAQ, same thing, took off rather nicely. I put a limit order in to automatically sell this one right at 24,564. So if we have 24,564 over here, so that was from this quadrant, which was on this daily candle. That was that quarter quadrant on the lower side. And I'm not just taking it because it's a quadrant, but it was in line with roughly where my target was, and I was also in line with this 1-hour fair value gap. And then once I took that one, moved the stop up, we had another, I think, nice high here. And also what I did like, I was right in the midpoint of this daily fair value gap. I had my relative equal highs here, and then this one was another quadrant, 24621. So we had 24621 right here. So that was the upper quadrant once again of this daily candle. So it had been using that one decently. Not saying it's always going to do that. I'm still diving into the wicks, but what I liked, what worked for me today, is in coordination with other targets. My relative equal highs, I was in the midpoint of this daily fair value gap, and we went up there once again. We shot up here. I took one right about once it breached that. It was a little bit behind it. When it dropped down, I wasn't sure if it was going to fire back up, and I figured at that point in time, we were getting close to 11. Wasn't sure if we were going to get a little bit of a retracement or a bigger retracement into the lunch hour at 11:30. So I just took my profits. My ultimate target was up here because we are on the top side of the daily fair value gap. We had some nice relative equal highs, as well as we had a new day opening gap from the 18th that was up there. Obviously didn't get it. We took a massive retracement down. Had I been in that trade still and not taken that last contract off here, my stop was placed right below this new day opening gap from the 16th. I would have been stopped out, but I would have been stopped out in profit, so it wasn't the end of the world. But overall, it's a really profitable day. And then one other thing that I noticed when I was taking this trade down here, we had 24465, 24465. So we had the close or the start of this wick that I felt might be sensitive, but more importantly, we had the midpoint of the daily fair value gap that was down there. We had another 4-hour that was inside of it, and then we had that quarter wick, 24410. That would have been right here, 24409-ish. That one in there. So I felt like I had some buffer. As you can see, I left this profit and loss diagram up. I was underneath, that was the fib, still the fib. Well, I had a new week opening gap here. I was underneath that, and I felt like I had a little bit of buffer, but I felt this was a decently strong move up, so took it there, came back down a little bit, but I was, once again, I was on the right side. I felt like I had some good targets going north, but because it had gone down all day, and when we opened, we didn't really take out any highs up here. I felt like there was a possibility to run back up, and I was also a little bit concerned, getting burnt earlier this week on thinking it was going to move in the other direction, and it never did. More so yesterday. So, but when I saw this shift in market structure, I saw this get above the fair value gap, I felt confident we would get a decent run because we had a pretty decent energetic move. But that was my assessment for ES and NQ today. Turned out to be a pretty decent one, so hopefully that was somewhat informative in regards to what I was looking for today.